Hey guys, haven't done one of these in a while. We're going to be doing a literary analysis. So today we're going to be analyzing Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, an amazing piece of literature. 100% should read if you fuck with Vikings. So let's get started. Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, composed around 1220 after death, is one of the most important works of medieval Scandinavian literature out there, and the single most valuable source for understanding Norse mythology. Written in Iceland during the High Middle Ages, the text serves a dual purpose. It preserves the myths, legends, and poetic traditions of the pre Christian Norse world while simultaneously functioning as a handbook for poets. As a result, the Prose Edda stands at the intersection of two cultures: the fading pagan traditions of the Viking Age and the Christian intellectual world of medieval Europe. And we also see this with Beowulf, which is probably going to be my next literary analysis. So keep your eyes peeled for that episode. So literally, the Prose Edda is more than a literarily, the Prose Edda is more than a collection of myths. It is a sophisticated work that explores themes of fate, wisdom, heroism, mortality, memory, and the inevitable decline of even the greatest powers. Through its depiction of the gods, especially Odin, Thor, Loki, and the doomed world of Ragnarok, the text presents a worldview fundamentally different from Christian concepts of salvation and divine providence, rather than emphasizing redemption. The Prose Edda celebrates courage in the face of inevitable destruction. So let's get into these historical context, with starting with the composer. So Snorri Sturluson, he lived from 1179 to 1241. Was an Icelandic historian, poet, politician, and chieftain. He lived more than 2 centuries after Iceland's conversion to Christianity in 1000 after death. The historical context is crucial because Snorri was not a pagan writing about his own religion. Instead, he was a Christian intellectual attempting to preserve ancient stories that were rapidly disappearing. The Prose Edda therefore reflects both admiration for Norse mythology and a desire to make it acceptable within a Christian society. Like Geoffrey of Monmouth in Britain, or Saxo Grammaticus in Denmark, Snorri sought to preserve a heroic past while adapting it to medieval Christian sensibilities. So, moving on to the structure of the Prose Edda. So, the work consists of 4 major sections. I'm sorry I don't have my copy of the Prose Edda. I took a Norse mythology class last year, at the end of my sophomore year, and it was one of our required materials, and I do have it. It's back in Boulder, but it's all marked up, and I really wish I had it to show it to you guys, but like, fuck it, I guess. So anyways, the prologue. The prologue presents a Christianized explanation for the Norse gods. Rather than portraying them as actual deities, Snorri argues that they were originally human heroes, which could very much be the case, that were from Troy, weirdly enough, who were later worshipped as gods. So this is a technique known as euhemerism, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, by portraying Odin and Aesir as extraordinary humans rather than divine beings. Snorri avoids accusations of promoting paganism while preserving the stories and traditions themselves. So, the tricking of Gylfi, also known in old, I don't even know, like old Icelandic, Gylfaginning. This is the mythological heart of the whole thing. So King Gylfi seeks wisdom and travels to Asgard disguised as a wanderer. There he engages in a series of question and answer exchanges with mysterious figures. So through this dialogue, Snorri recounts the creation of the world, the gods and giants, Thor, Loki, Freya, and Balder, cosmology, and Yggdrasil, which is like that tree thing if you've ever seen it, and Ragnarok. So the frame narrative resembles medieval scholastic debates and classic philosophical dialogues. So next is the language of poetry, also known as Skaldskaparmal. This section explains poetic devices used by Norse skalds. Snorri preserves myths primarily to explain kennings, metaphors, symbolic references, and for example, gold becomes Aegir's fire, or poetry becomes Kvasir's blood, or the sea becomes Whale Road. So without understanding the myths, medieval audiences could not fully understand Norse poetry. So for next is Hatatal, the list of verse forms. So this section functions almost as a textbook. So Snorri demonstrates numerous poetic meters while praising King Hakon and Earl Scully. By the way, to let you know, I will also be dropping a episode on poetry. More specifically, a specific poetic meter that caught my mind. But anyways, to continue on, it illustrates the technical mastery expected of medieval Icelandic poets. So some major themes we have here. So fate and inevitability. So perhaps the most important theme in the Prose Edda is fate. Unlike Christianity, where salvation may alter one's ultimate destiny, Norse mythology presents fate as absolute. Even the gods cannot escape it. The clearest example of this is in Ragnarok. Odin knows he will be devoured by Fenrir. Thor knows he will kill another fucking name, Jormungandr, but die from its poison. The gods possess foreknowledge but lack the power to change their destiny. This creates a tragic worldview in which greatness is measured not by victory but by how one is able to face and accept their inevitable defeat. So, wisdom in the pursuit of knowledge. So Odin's character embodies the Norse obsession with wisdom. Throughout the myths, he sacrifices repeatedly for knowledge. So first we have Odin's eye. So if you guys ever seen a depiction of Odin, he's missing an eye. So Odin gives up one eye at Mimir's well to gain wisdom, and this sacrifice symbolizes the belief that knowledge requires suffering. The world tree is, so Odin hangs himself on Yggdrasil for 9 nights. The self-sacrifice grants him the knowledge of the runes. The episode portrays wisdom as something earned through pain, endurance, rather than divine revelation. Heroism against impossible odds. So the gods constantly confront enemies they cannot permanently defeat. Thor repeatedly battles giants. The gods struggle to contain Loki and his monstrous children. Every victory merely just postpones Ragnarok. Heroism therefore becomes resistance rather than conquest. And this idea profoundly influenced the later literature, including Tolkien's concept of northern courage. Tolkien admired the Norse belief that one should fight evil even when victory is impossible. So next is the theme of order versus chaos. So throughout the Prose Edda, the gods represent civilization and order. The giants represent chaos and destruction. However, Snorri avoids simple moral binaries. Many giants possess a vast amount of wisdom. Many gods display flaws. And Loki occupies a particularly complex position between both worlds. This ambiguity creates richer and more psychologically realistic storytelling. Mortality. So despite their power, the gods are not truly immortal. They rely upon Idun's apples to maintain youth. So at Ragnarok, many die permanently. The text repeatedly reminds readers that power does not guarantee permanence. Everything, even divine beings, must eventually pass away. So now let's move on to a character analysis. So Odin is obviously the most complex figure. He is a king, warrior, poet, sorcerer, and wanderer. Unlike heroic kings in many traditions, Odin often achieves his goals through deception, sacrifice, and manipulation. He resembles a tragic philosopher king whose pursuit of knowledge ultimately reveals his own doom. Next is Thor. So Thor embodies physical strength and straightforward heroism. Where Odin uses cunning, Thor uses force. His battles against giants symbolize humanity's struggle against destructive natural forces. Thor's popularity among ordinary Scandinavians likely stemmed from his accessibility. Unlike Odin's complexity, Thor represents clear courage and reliability. Now we have Loki. So Loki is one of medieval literature's most fascinating tricksters. He solves problems, creates them, he helps gods, and he betrays them. So his actions drive many narratives forward. Eventually, he becomes the agent of Ragnarok itself. Loki embodies instability, unpredictability, and transformation. Now we have Balder. Balder represents innocence and goodness. His death marks the beginning of the cosmic decline. The myth functions almost like a Norse version of the fall. After Balder's death, Ragnarok becomes inevitable. His story highlights the fragility of beauty and virtue in a harsh world. So now we have the literary techniques. So the frame narrative. The conversation between Gylfi and the mysterious figures create narrative distance. This allows Snorri to present myths while maintaining ambiguity about their truth. The framework ends with Gylfi discovering that much of what he witnessed may have been an illusion. Moving on, we have symbolism. So Yggdrasil, the world tree, symbolizes cosmic order, interconnected existence, and the fragility of creation. Everything in the universe depends upon it. Ragnarok. So Ragnarok symbolizes cyclical destruction, renewal, and historical change. Unlike the Christian apocalypse described in Revelations, Ragnarok ends with a reborn world. So the irony. Reoccurring irony pervades the text. So the gods know their fate but can't prevent it. Their wisdom becomes a source of suffering. And the more Odin learns, the more clearly he sees the inevitable catastrophe. Now moving on, we have the Christian influence. So a major scholarly debate concerns how much Christian thought influenced Snorri. Several elements suggest Christian influence, such as euhemeristic prologue, apocalyptic imagery, structured cosmology, emphasis on moral lessons. However, the emotional core remains deeply Norse. The heroic acceptance of fate differs significantly from Christian concepts of redemption. Thus, the Prose Edda is neither purely pagan nor purely Christian. It is a product of medieval Iceland's cultural transition and the colliding of two different worlds. So the legacy and significance. So without the Prose Edda, much of Norse mythology would be lost to us today. The work influenced Scandinavian literature, romantic nationalism, Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle, J.R.R. Tolkien, modern fantasy literature, and contemporary depictions of Norse mythology, like the Avengers or some shit. So concepts such as dwarves, elves, world trees, magical ruins, and world-ending battles entered modern fantasy largely through texts preserved by Snorri. So to conclude, Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda is both a preservation of Norse mythology and profound literary exploration of fate, wisdom, heroism, and mortality. Through his tragic vision of gods who struggle against an unavoidable destiny, the text presents a worldview in which courage matters more than victory, and wisdom often comes at a terrible cost. Written by a Christian author looking back on a pagan past, the Prose Edda captures a civilization at a moment of transition while preserving some of the most powerful myths ever created. Its enduring influence on literature, history, and modern fantasy testifies to the richness of its themes and the timeless appeal of its vision of heroic resistance in the face of inevitable doom.